Pay close attention. What you're about to see is Bible prophecy being fulfilled.
Welcome to YPN News, bringing you news as it relates to Bible prophecy. Katan, 3 words to describe our news this week: war, violence, and hatred. Yishra Hawkins has been showing us the prophecies, showing that nuclear war is coming, and these articles back it up.
That's right, Jeff. We're going to take it first over to our field correspondent to start us off for the evening, Larry McGee, as he brings us up to speed about the ceasefire and its progress in Syria. Larry?
Thanks, Katan. The ceasefire in Syria is not holding up as well as some people might have hoped, and the UN is now reporting that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad isn't being cooperative. Last night, in its broadcast on the conflict, CBS News aired a video recently posted online which they said appeared to show the city of Homs, which has a population of 1.5 million people, being bombed by the government in an ongoing effort to extinguish a democratic movement which rose up in the country over a year ago. Not many reporters have been allowed access into Syria since the conflict began, but CBS's Elizabeth Palmer was able to enter Damascus, where she was eventually detained by the Syrian army while attempting to investigate a town where a ceasefire had allegedly broken down. The problem occurred at the last military checkpoint, where it became apparent that Palmer and her crew had not acquired the necessary permission to enter the city. While they were being detained, however, Palmer, determined to get a story, began to question the Syrian soldiers, with the ultimate aim, apparently, of reporting their state of mind. According to her report, the soldiers conveyed being tired. They haven't been able to go home or take much leave for as much as 5 to 8 months, and as they find themselves in a line of fire more and more, the face of fear is starting to rear its head as well. As to whether or not either side has been observing the ceasefire, the soldiers reported no, one officer stating that while he had been given specific instructions that his men should refrain from firing, even if fired upon, with young soldiers, that is a difficult task to accomplish, and thus the fighting in Syria, despite the ceasefire signed last week, continues to rage on. For YPN News, I'm Larry McGee. Katan, Jeff, back to you.
Thank you for that report, Larry. Just goes to show that the plans of man without a peaceful solution always fail. Now, in a recent statement from Mitt Romney suggesting that the Obama administration's incompetence emboldened the North Korean regime and undermined the security of the United States and his allies. Now, in an interview with CNN, Leon Panetta, and Hillary Clinton, Panetta was asked if he wanted to respond to those statements. Panetta said, "I think it was made pretty clear that this administration took a firm stand in regards to the provocative behavior that North Korea engaged in."
He continued to say, "We made very clear that they should not do it," referring to the recent missile launch, "and we condemned that action, even though it was not successful and that it was a failure. The fact is that it was provocative." Continuing to quote here, he said, "We have made it very clear to them that they should not take any more provocative actions. I think that was a clear, strong message that not only our country, but the world sent to North Korea. And that's the way, frankly, that the United States ought to behave." And that was what he was quoting there.
Right. Now, as the interview continued, Panetta was asked what he would do if North Korea did an underground nuclear test. Panetta answered, "That would be another provocation and would worsen our relationship." Now, as the interviewer pressured him for a solid answer, Panetta stated, "I'm not going to get into how we would respond to it, but clearly we are prepared at the Defense Department for any contingency."
Now, currently there are about 30,000 U.S. troops in the non-military zone between North Korea and South Korea, with 1 million troops in North Korea and almost 1 million troops in South Korea and they have the nuclear warheads. So that area is a very dangerous part of the world. Now, Leon Panetta said that we're within an inch of war every day in that part of the world, and we have to be very careful about what we say and about what we do.
Now, other issues that concern the U.S. Secretary of Defense is Iran, Syria, as we've been reporting on for a while now, the turmoil in the Middle East, cyber wars, weapons of mass destruction, and rising powers. Now, all of these things are issues that concern the United States.
Some may be wondering if an arms race is starting in Asia after India made a bold move this week as it tested a powerful new missile that could reach major cities in China. The missile is capable of carrying a nuclear warhead all the way to China's capital, Beijing. Now, India is now among a group of nations that already have long-range missile capability, including Israel, Russia, Britain, China, France, and of course the United States.
Yeah, Panetta said it right. We are an inch closer to war every day. The protests continue in Belgium as a coordinated attempt to show solidarity with Palestinians called Flotilla is met with strong resistance at a Belgium airport. Protesters say they have tickets bound for Israel, but Belgian police won't let them check in. People ready to fly were told their names were on a list that they couldn't fly. Now, a list of terrorists or a list of people that aren't welcome to Israel is what many are asking. But the flyers just aren't being told why they're not allowed to fly.
Now, this is the third year European activists have tried to highlight Israel's tight control over access to the occupied territories. The organizers of this recent protest hoped that 1,500 people would fly into Israel's main airport, then declare their intention to travel to Israeli checkpoints, to Bethlehem, to open a new school. In Paris, it was the same story. As a result, Israeli pressure on European airports was proving persuasive.
Protesters weren't able to travel, but that didn't stop them from protesting. In Israel's Ben Gurion airport, hundreds of extra police officers were on duty to detain and deport any Europeans trying to get into Israel. They've made several arrests so far. Now, Palestinian protesters and supporters hope these kind of actions will attract international attention. Israel, of course, hopes for the opposite.
Now, continuing with the articles for this week, Israel's hatred towards the Palestinians is steadily increasing as we continue to witness the oppression of the Palestinian people. Reports from Ramallah indicate that Israel is controlling all passages, including their airport, and even the Gaza seashore is controlled by the Israeli Navy. Fishermen are not allowed to fish deeper than 3 miles out to sea. If they are, they shoot them, as they did in an incident that occurred a few days ago.
Amazing. Violence against Palestinians is ongoing, and other reports show Israel is extending their violence against internationals. This week in IDF, an Israeli Defense Forces officer used his rifle to violently strike a Danish activist in the face. Now, take a look at this video as this officer uses unnecessary force against this man. Now, we have to warn you, what you're about to see may be disturbing to some viewers.
What we see here is a severe act of violence by Israel against non-violent acts, non-violent Palestinian resistance. They use violence against Palestinians all the time. And now they are extending their violence and their racism and their fascist behavior in certain occasions against internationals. We've seen what Eisner did to the Danish activists. In this case, Eisner was investigated only because somebody took a video shot of what has happened.
That's terrible. Now, Katan, these acts of violence actually occur quite frequently against the Palestinians, but in this case it was investigated due to the fact that somebody caught it on video.
Yeah, the love of many continuing to grow cold. Now stay tuned as Israel Hawkins continues to explain Bible prophecy. For YPN News, I'm Katan Alexander.
And I'm Jeffrey Heimerman.
Thanks for joining us.